So our next extra credit is to use a status state, and I describe why that can be useful here, but I want to show you the problem that we're going to avoid. Aside from cleaning up our code, using a status can help you avoid bugs like this. So let's say I'm walking along and I'm like, I want to get the blah Pokemon, and then oh no, I found out that there's no blah Pokemon. So instead I'll get the Pikachu Pokemon, and I'll find out that I'm not actually getting the Pikachu Pokemon, and I'm not getting the Charizard Pokemon. What in the world? So we pull up our network tab and we say, okay, well, let's go to Mew then. And boom, there's Mew right there. We're actually getting the data for Mew. We're making that request and everything. But why are we not showing that in the UI? Well, what's going on here is as soon as we set this error, we now are always going to return the error UI. So the solution is pretty simple. We just need to say set error to null before we make this request. And now I can say blah, no Pokemon there, we've got an error state, and then I can recover from that error state just fine. But we can avoid this kind of problem and many others if we just use a status variable that tells us exactly the current status of our component at a given point in time. So I'm going to make a new variable called status, and we'll call that idle as our initial status. And then instead of all of this logic where we're basing things based on the different types of state that we've got, I'm going to actually start over with a new if on the status. And so if our status is idle, then I want to show submit a Pokemon. Okay. And we save that and boom, we've got submit a Pokemon. Great. But what if the status is pending? Well, if the status is pending, then I want to show the Pokemon info fallback. So we can say else if status is pending, then we'll show the Pokemon info fallback with that Pokemon name. So then we'll save that and we'll see that Pokemon fallback there. And then we'll say else if the status is rejected, then we can return this error state. And otherwise, if the status is resolved, then we can show the Pokemon data view. And then if none of those things are true, then that should be impossible because we'll never set the status to anything else. And so I'll just for the funsies, I'll say throw new error. This should be impossible. All right, sweet. So let's go ahead and make the status actually update according to what the status of our component should be. So we'll say React use state, we'll initialize it to idle, and then when we come around here, instead of resetting the error and the Pokemon, we'll just set the status to pending. And then when our promise is resolved, then we'll set the Pokemon, and we'll also set the status to resolved. And then it looks like I've got a red underline here, and the reason is because I forgot to destructure this. So let's do set status. There we go. And then for our error state, let's set the error and then set status to rejected. And now I can type in blah, and I'm going to get my loading state. I'm going to get my error state. I switch to Pikachu. I'm going to get my loading state, and I get my success state. We're doing awesome. And I would argue that this is a fair bit easier to reason about. You no longer have to worry about resetting these other elements of state to null, and this is a lot easier to understand and helps us avoid bugs. So in review, all we did here is add a status element of state, which we keep updated as our promise progresses, and then we render different UI based on that status variable, helping us avoid bugs and making the code a lot more clear.